Good evening. I am the king of all mediums, and I am going to do a six-part podcast on the Tate LaBianca, sometimes known as the Manson Murders. And this is part zero. I wouldn't say part one because this is kind of an introduction uh, to my fascination with this case and um, what I've done in the last few months to uh, get knowledge on it. Though I've always known something about it, but I've learned much in the last few months. So let me give a little background. I was about 4.5 years old when the murders occurred. The Tate LaBianca or Manson murders occurred, and I've always been a big fan of the '60s and love the music, the culture, and I always, I heard about the murders, and I first was introduced to the murders by Vincent Bugliosi's book, Helter Skelter. Now, also, I remember in 1976 watching the two-part movie, Helter Skelter, and it always been a fascinating case to me. And the sum total is, why would seven random people be murdered? No reason, you know. Maybe they were, maybe, So as time went on, I always, thought about it, and recently there've been a lot of podcasts, and there's even something called the Manson community, and which I'll talk about in more detail, who researched the case and tried to quell the official narrative. Some even going as far as saying that Charles Manson did not even order the murders. So, this fascination with the '60s, Woodstock, interesting enough, Woodstock happened August 15th through 18th, 1969, and the murders happened August 9th through 11th, I do believe. So, I've read 9 books in the since April, and the New York City subway system gives you a lot of time to read, and it's really nice because you don't think about some of the shenanigans going on around you, so some of the weird stuff going around you. Um, so so this introductory podcast is to just give my sources. I hope to go at least 6 parts with this. And, there's a lot of this stuff has been said, but it would be good for people who don't know much about the case and some people who know a lot about the case. I have some, interesting takes on it. Um, so I think you'll enjoy it, whoever you are. Don't know anything about it, know a lot about it, know a little about it. So big fan. I don't know if anyone's a big fan, but there's actually a lot of people um, think a lot about the case. So the book that everyone pretty much started out with is Vincent Bugliosi's Helter Skelter, written by Vincent Bugliosi and Kurt Gentry. Kind of the official narrative, the court case, and the book that pretty much most people relied on for the last, say, about 56 years. Well, not 50, we'll say 50 years. And but a lot of people recently have come out. And by the way, the book is quite good, well written. Um, I think, obviously, Bugliosi, who's the prosecutor of the case, obviously doesn't like the main protagonist, who is Charles Manson. And he believes he's a very evil fellow. Okay, so this was mostly, the main book. Now, very recently, maybe 5 or 6 years ago, this book came out. Now, Chaos. Uh, um, Charles Manson, the CIA, and the secret history of the 60s. Now, this book is very interesting. And what's interesting more than anything is uh, there's not much to it. Well, he basically, Mr. Tom O'Neill and Dan Piepenbring, I think, is his co-author. It's an interesting story. Guy gets a assignment, 30th anniversary of the Manson murders, and not too interested. It's everything's been said about it, and then he takes on a 20-year obsession trying to find out the real truth, quote unquote. And so it's an interesting story, but many people recommend it. Yes, some interesting things that have come up, of course, we'll discuss. And one of the most interesting things is when Charles Manson was free, starting March 21st, 1967, and he finally was captured October 12th, 1969. He was on parole for that time, and he could have been violated his parole many times, and for some reason, he was just uh, let loose. And Sharon Tate might still been alive. She's been 83 years old now, so, maybe not age might, but at least she would have been alive, maybe had the kid, and things could be different. So one of the gist of this book is the author's contention, although he can't prove it, that the CIA had somehow brainwashed Charles Manson or taught Manson how to brainwash people to become killers. Okay, I don't buy that, and I don't think for a second the CIA did that. But besides that, he offers some very, very interesting observations. So, chaos. Okay, so there's some other pretty good books that I got in hard copy. They said there's nine, so um, now, this book is the biography, kind of the biography of Manson. It's good to best book for the early life of Charles Manson, the life and times of Charles Manson by Jeff Gwynne. Those in the Manson community probably don't like this book. I thought it was pretty well written. Pretty not many new revelations. He does interview some people who were still alive at the time, 2000, around the early 2010s about Charlie's childhood. And one of the things Jeff Gwynne says is Charlie Manson is one of the most evil men to walk the face of the earth. So, where Jeff Gwynne's opinion of Charles Manson is. Um, a good book in terms of the early life of Charles Manson. What was it like? Um, okay. Now, two kind of, well, I won't say Manson apologists, but two more books that try to quell the official narrative of the Vincent Bugliosi are first year's. I get the wrong book. They look so much alike. That's right. There's George Stimson's Goodbye Helter Skelter, and he brings out some very interesting points. It's well researched. There's some good logic in it, but it's kind of shaded for one reason. George Simpson is married to Sandra Good, who is probably the most ardent Manson supporter that there was, along with Lynette Squeaky Fromy. Okay, and did have a lot of access to Mr. Manson and in prison. So good read though. The writing isn't that great. In terms of keeping you interested, but he has some interesting conclusions, and no real new no real new shattering revelations. Now, for those, we go to the final hard copy book I still have. I had one more, but I had a cleaner and I had the book on the floor. It was Tex Watson's book, Cease to Exist, the autobiography of Tex Watson, one of the main murderers. Probably did 90% of all the murdering in the Manson murders. So, now, this book is has a lot of revelations. Okay, the Manson File by Nicholas Schreck. Okay, so 30 years, Mr. Schreck knew Mr. Manson, and the it is a really interesting book. I will admit that Mr. Schreck is an interesting guy, but there's two problems I think with his book. There are no who's the source. Now he gives all the source he gives is Gene. He gives a copy. I mean, I shouldn't say that. Gene Gutowski is the main source he gives, uh, and he also has, interestingly enough, an alternative uh, view of what actually happened the night of the uh, Cielo Drive murders, which is interesting. So he doesn't. We will talk about the standard narrative of the Cielo Drive murders, but he comes. He has another. The question is, how does he know that? He doesn't tell us. And another problem, he doesn't have an index. So if you want to, if I want to go to a point, that was an interesting point. Let me go back and find that. So that's six books right there, including the Tex Watson book that I don't have anymore. Okay, because my cleaner, it was on the floor and he pushed it and threw it out. So I'm not the neatest guy. So all right, now I also got books on Kindle. Okay, an interesting book was I got was Manson in his own words by Newell Emmons. Okay, so sort of the autobiography of Manson. The word was problem it was Emmons could not record Manson, so when he did his interviews. Talking to Manson, he had to go into his car and write down, try to remember what everything Manson said. Um, Manson was very upset with the book, stating that that's not what he said and such and such. But I think he gave away a few revelations that he didn't want to give away, and that's what he was more upset about. Um, so, Manson, His Own Words by Noel Emmons. Okay, that's book number seven, I do believe. uh, Manson Exposed 50 Years of Madness and Mayhem by Ivor Davis. Not a bad book, but pretty much a rehash of everything. You know, so I basically wouldn't recommend it. Now, the best book, if you're going to get one book about the Manson murders, in my opinion, is The Family by Ed Sanders. Now, that book is terrific. I love that book. The reason why I like it, Mr. Sanders has a great writing style, very tongue in cheek. He talks about, the hippie murderers and the he actually was a left. He's still alive, I think, the left wing guy. But he actually, you know, didn't wasn't too crazy about the Mansonites and their thrill kill cult. So, the family. Okay, and I got one more. Actually, I noticed I had my podcast. The Manson Family Manual by Paul Dawson, which I haven't read, so I don't know. It doesn't look very promising, but I don't know if I'll get to it. So that's let's see, one, six, seven, eight, nine, right? Nine books I've read since April. In fact, Family by Ed Sanders is so good. I'm rereading and almost done. Actually, originally had the a hard copy cover it, but I lost all my positions. That's another story. um, so now, over the years, you get many podcasts. So What are some of the better podcasts? I think the best podcast is True Crime and Moonshine. There's a woman, Nancy Farrell, from England, and she does an excellent podcast. In fact, she dug up a picture of one of the early suspects who they never had a picture of him before, and she finally dug up a picture of this man. His name is Billy Doyle, and she finally came out with a picture of him. So she actually does excellent original research, but there is one issue, and the issue with Nancy is that she has such a heavy accent that I can't understand her most of the time. So I have to put on the cap auto captions. But you know, she's good sense of humor. People have complained, and she doesn't get angry. It's just what it is. What it is. It is what it is. They say, right? Nicholas Shrek channel, and first got interesting in the Manson files. So through the Nicholas Shrek channel, he does a lot of interviews, a lot of these interesting revelations, which again, don't know if they're true, don't know if they're false. Some of them make a lot of sense, and I'll go into some of them. And there's a lot of these videos talking to different people, and so that's a good channel. So that's another one. H. Allegra Lansing, more to the story of the Manson family. She did an audio book, but I don't know how she makes money because she gives it away pretty much for free. Um, only my only issue with her is she needs better sound. Hopefully, my sound. You can barely hear her. I got the iPhone. I got the Bluetooth speakers. I can barely hear her through. She needs to just get a better microphone. So hopefully, my microphone is good. And okay. Polcast is pretty good. He has I think it's No Sense Makes Sense as a Facebook group too. A lot of these people have Facebook groups. They're fascinated by the Manson case. There's a lot of ancillary characters that come out too. Tons of them. For instance, Angela Lansbury's daughter, Dee Dee Lansbury, almost joins the family, or quote unquote the family. Got to be careful of that. So it wasn't a family; it was a commune. um, so Paulcast is pretty good. He's actually had Nicholas Shrek on. He's actually interviewed some of the people connected with the case, like Dr. David Smith, who we'll talk about in the early case, early part of the history of Manson, and who else? Yeah, there's a few other people. Uh, so he's had some people connected, on the periphery of the case. And again, as time goes on, there's less and less people alive, unfortunately. And until we get the technology to suck the contents out of their brain, we're going to lose a lot of things unless people start talking. Final one is pretty new. It's called the Twilight Garage. It's pretty good. They have some guests on. It's two guys, a skinny guy and a portly fellow. And the skinny guy's a little annoying. I hope he's watching this. He don't get offended, but he's the portly fellow. I kind of like. He's calm. He asks good questions. He's quiet. So, and those are the two. So that's basically five podcasts. Another thing is, so I was having trouble finding Helter Skelter, the 1976 movie. I would have been willing to buy it, online, but I couldn't find it. So I looked it up, and actually, I got it. I typed in, I did a search on Google, 1976 Helter Skelter. Went to images, and the movie was there. So it's amazing if you work. You put a little effort. I thought I was going to find it. Now, another movie I wanted to see was. Uh, Rosemary's Baby, and that's hard to find. Or I think they charge us. Maybe I'll do the same thing with that because that's kind of connected to the case, as we'll see with um, with Roman Polanski being the director. Okay, so this ends part one, and just perfect. It's 20-minute point. I hope you enjoyed. By the way, it's very hot in New York. I think we get a lot of rain. Today is July 31st, last day of the month, July 2025. I am the king of all mediums, and I thank you. And um, I have to, of course, we'll do part one, and hope to do about six parts. Maybe might be seven, might be eight. We'll see. They might be nine, but I'm saying six. So this is part zero, and I'm going to also, yes, six parts to this series. Okay, so thank you, and the next one should come up probably Sunday night. So have a great morning. Take care.